government, and with the second government, especially of El Beji Qaid Sibsi, who is a 90-year-old leader, who was a minister with Bourguiba, with Ben Ali, to come back to a revolution led by young people. A man, a symbol of the former regime, to come to government. And that was, I think, the first step in the back of the revolution. And unfortunately, we accepted that. And we considered that as a very important step. Why? Because they gave us the Constituent Assembly, which was one of our slogans. The left created this slogan, a Constituent Assembly to people. But, irony of history, that Constituent Assembly in the election of 2011, it was the majority, it was the Islamists of Al-Nahda, Al-Ikhwan Muslimin, who won the majority. And who stayed in the Constituent Assembly now for 3 years, doing whatever they like, and imposing the laws they like. And the Constituent Assembly, our very slogan, our very demand, turned against us. Later on, I moved forward in the events to learn more lessons with our struggle again in the Popular Front, which was a coalition of more than 12 parties. Something special in Tunisia, that communists in a front with some progressive nationalists, not bourgeoisie, some progressive nationalists, and even some Baathists, which is strange in Tunisia, but which are somehow different, because they are progressive, because this is something to be studied, which later on I consider is one of the reasons of the failure of this front, because it has in its components some contradictory forces which cannot, between the communists and nationalists and Baathists, cannot really lead the struggle and cannot be a revolutionary struggle. Anyway, in the beginning, the Popular Front was really a very important force against Islamists, against the bourgeoisie, against the regime, which we considered at that time that we didn't succeed in toppling the regime. That's why we continued our struggle. And we paid very high. We paid really a lot. And we lost one of our leaders, Shokri Ibrahim, who was assassinated on February the 6th by the Daesh, ISIS of Tunisia, who are called Ansar Sharia. And everybody knows, but they killed him in front of his house. They shot him with more than 9 bullets in front of everybody, 8 a.m. in the morning, in just few meters far away from a police station, and then the killers just flee away. Why? Because it was the Islamists in power at that time who protected the jihadists or the Salafists. And this is another lesson to be learned. Ikhwan al-Muslimin and Ansar Sharia or the jihadists are the same. The Islamists are the same. It's fascism, whether in Iran, in the government, whether in Egypt, whether in Tunisia, it is the same. It is the Islamic fascism. And I was discussing with some friends yesterday and today. And to be honest, let's come back to history. Daesh or ISIS and Ansar Sharia or in Egypt, other experience, that's, as far as I am concerned, the real image of the Islam in history. If we come back, we will find a lot of cruelty, a lot of blood in the history. And in fact, they might be a creation of the intelligence, they might be. But it is just a tool to divert the struggle and to attack the leaders. Who they are attacking? They are attacking left leaders, communists, and they are attacking those symbols of diversity. They are taking the ethnic and the religious diversity of Iraq. They are attacking civilization. That's why they are obscure and they are against progress. And that's why the fight against them is a priority. Shukri bin Eid understood that very early. That's why they killed him. He was a very high voice against the Salafists, against the Islamists, and he considered them as a threat to the revolution. They considered themselves as a fruit of the revolution. Rashid Ghannouchi, the leader of Al-Nahda, said they are our sons. That's why we said the Ikhwan al-Muslimin and the jihadists are the same. They represent the same threat and the same coalition against revolution. They are the anti-revolutionary forces. And that's why they killed Shukri bin Eid. They were not killing Shukri bin Eid, the person. They killed Shukri bin Eid, the project, the future, the vision. And I think they killed Shukri bin Eid, the same guys, the same persons who killed Shukri bin Eid, killed Hussein Mroud in Lebanon, and killed the thinkers in Iran, and the leaders, and the progressive leaders in Iran, and maybe tens and hundreds of them, and thousands of workers' leaders in Iran. I think it is the same fight, and I think it is the same future, and I will come back at the end in the future. Remind me about time, please.
21.
Good. So, after the assassination of Shukri bin Eid, we considered that it was another opportunity for us to go forward and maybe to take power. Why? Because for the first time in history, even during the revolution, it didn't happen. 1.5 million, it's clear. In Tunisia, we are about 10 million. In Tunis, the capital, we are about 1 million or 2 million. Between 1 million and 2 million inhabitants. On February the 8th, on the funeral of Shukri bin Eid, more than 1.5 million Tunisians were in the streets. And you can see, if you can come back to pictures, you can see them. And all of them were screaming with one slogan: topple down Al-Nahda. Let's topple the regime. Al-Nahda are the killers. It was clear. People knew very well that it is Al-Nahda, the Islamists, who killed Shukri bin Eid. Again, instead of going forward, another tactic was suggested. We considered that we should go to the Constituent Assembly or to the government with at least from 1 million we could, let's say, mobilize thousands of people. I think if we come back to revolutions, I have never heard or read about a revolution that was led by millions. We all the time speak about dozens, hundreds, thousands maximum. Come back to all the revolutions and you will see. Maybe the millions are in the street, but it's the hundreds, it's what Lenin called, it's the dozen of the most intelligent who will lead the revolution. It was us, I think, who suggested that we go forward and we declare a revolutionary government. Again, our leaders refused that. And Hamami, the leader of the Popular Front, made a very famous speech in which he used a part of poetry which is very famous in Arabic, Nam ya habibi nam. That means, my dear comrade, sleep in peace and don't worry. That word was taken by people to say, this is not a front of activism and of revolution. It's a front, maybe, of peace and of people who are sleeping, between inverted commas, as a metaphor. And that's the truth. Instead of asking people to revolt, because you know that leaders must choose the right moment to declare and to announce the right slogans. We missed another historical moment. After 6 months, the same obscuritist forces who killed Shukri bin Eid kill another leader of the Popular Front, Muhammad Ibrahim, who was a member of the Constituent Assembly, an elected member of the Constituent Assembly, who was representing a marginalized region in Sidi Bouzid, the same region that Muhammad Bouazizi belonged to and our comrade Al-Amali belonged to. It's the region of the poor, of the marginalized. They killed him in front of his house with the same way, with a cold blood, with more than 14 bullets in his body. They killed him on July 25th, which is symbolically the National Day of Republic, to declare the death of the Republic, which we consider is not really founded yet. Again, during his funerals, thousands and thousands of people were there, and they were sitting in front of the Constituent Assembly. Again, our choice was the following: let's go forward, enter by force into the Constituent Assembly, and declare a revolutionary government from there. And it was possible. Believe me, even the police and the army was at that time neutral. With the events of Egypt, it was another possibility after the Egyptian succeeded in toppling Al-Ikhwan al-Muslimin, but unfortunately failed in toppling the regime, which is still there, continuous. And maybe Comrade Huda will speak about that later on, because we consider that in Egypt and Tunisia, we are facing the same path. We are following the same path of successes and failures. And that's a theme for study for communists to be understood. Then, again, the leadership, which I consider now, and I can call the opportunist leadership of the left, instead of choosing that path, they just chose to be in an alliance, in a coalition with the bourgeoisie, with a party called Nida Tunis, which is the same figures of the former regime. And with the leadership of UGTT again, although I am in UGTT as an organization, but the leadership played a bureaucratic role in what the so-called national dialogue. Something new, the national dialogue between everybody. Left, Ikhwan al-Muslimin, everybody together. And again, we missed another historical moment. And they consider now that a technocratic government, which is now in power, is a very important revolutionary step, which is nonsense. And now we are in few weeks, there will be elections. And I think that, again, we didn't learn from history. And who knows what happens in the election? There might be, again, the Islamists in power. So, if we come back to all of these events and to all of these lessons, what can we say about the situation in Tunisia? What you, as people from Iran, from Egypt, whether living in Sweden or looking forward to organizing revolution and to organizing workers. First, the absence of the leadership, of the revolutionary leadership that organized workers was the real cause of the failure of the revolution, for the temporary failure, because we consider that we have to fight again, we have to continue our struggle, our fight, and organize workers with new tactics, with the new mechanisms, with the new forms of revolution, which must be created, and we will succeed. That's the first lesson related to the perspective, the first perspective. Second lesson. In the historical moments, the dozen of the intelligent that Lenin called, that means the leadership, must take the right decisions and must be brave enough and even crazy enough, because in some way the revolution can be led by the most brave, the most intelligent, and the craziest between inverted commas. Somehow we should be a kind of revolutionary prophets. We should predict what would happen and forecast what happened and precede the history to win history and to be in the leadership. That's why, comrades, if you have the moment in any country, don't miss history. And just to remind you, you remember and see how things are similar. In 1979, it was you, the communists, who led the struggle in Iran. It was the communists and the revolutionary communists who led the struggle in Iran. But unfortunately, it was Khomeini who came from Paris and took power. And until now, communists and workers are still fighting because they missed history in 1979. In Tunisia, we missed history. And until now, after 3 years, and maybe I think it will be a very long path of struggle to come back again. The last part, in a few seconds, is that now, every day, what's happening now? People and TV speak about elections, that's it. And everybody is about elections, etc. But what is happening on the ground is another story. It strikes every day. Every day you can see workers on strike. Workers are organized, whether in UGTT or in their manner. We see unemployed people who are just taken by force some lands, very big fertile lands, and directing those lands by themselves. We can see every day young leaders who are protesting against poverty and repeating the same slogan of the revolution, which everybody knows, Ash-Sha'b in Arabic, Yurid Isqat al-Nizam. The people would like to topple the regime, and they are repeating the same slogan, work to everybody. I think that this is the real revolutionary movement, which is till now without a leadership. It is the same movement that led to December 17th, January 14th revolution, and which will lead surely to the revolution which will be successful and which will lead to the success of the people's and workers' representatives to take power by force and to go there with all the methods, with all the revolutionary methods, if we just learn from history and if we organize ourselves and if we change the tactics and the forms and the methods of struggle and if we learn from history and we learn from our mistakes. Comrades, our struggle is yours and your struggle is ours. We live in the same condition, whether in Iran, whether in Tunisia, in Iraq, in Egypt, because we are led by the same reactionary governments, which are the capitalist puppets and the puppets of capitalism. And our enemy is the same, it's capitalism. Let's fight capitalism in all of its forms, and let's organize ourselves, and let's be the real and the true representative of the workers, and we will win. And victory will be ours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Hatem Lawini. Powerful words and powerful analysis of what's happening in Tunisia. I'm sure during the course of this conference, and just remind you, there'll be a plenary discussion of a panel of our main speakers, and at that time there'll be an opportunity for question and answers and further discussion of all these very critical and crucial issues. And we just witnessed one of those coming from Tunisia. The next speaker is going to, we are trying to get hold of, is Reza Rashidi, and he will be joining us by Skype. But before that, we would like to take a short break because we didn't have coffee in the morning, so there's chance now for coffee and tea. And after that, we'll take about 10 minutes break and then come back and we will see if we can bring Reza Rashidi, who's a labor activist from Iran, whether we can have him on Skype. Okay, that's great. Thank you.